Hello and welcome. Rahul, you're watching me on my YouTube channel of my talks, and if you're watching me consistently, welcome back to my channel. See, whenever I come in front of you, I have a purpose. I want to disseminate some knowledge and some topics which are really confounding and perplexing to you. I try to solve it, I try to give it real meaning, simple meaning so that you can understand exactly what are its essence. That is what I try to discuss. Today I got a very beautiful book, written by Michio Kaku. The name of the book is Quantum Supremacy. I would say that anyone who is fond of knowing exactly what are the changes that will happen and perceptible in the world, and what are the changes that are happening currently, if you want to be aware of all that, you should certainly read books. And Michio Kaku is a very famous scientist, of current time. And his book, when I read this book, I understand exactly that we should understand what kind of possibilities, with the science and technology can unfold and can change our reality altogether. And he has given such a deep, insights about quantum physics, and quantum computers, how quantum computing can solve all of the confounding problems that are currently a very big riddle in front of the humanity. So he has given his insights about what are the quantum supremacy, how quantum computers can solve and can even be a threat to intelligence agencies because their encryption, most of the corporates run 128-bit AES encryptions. Even that can be broken by quantum computers in future, because bigger and bigger bit holding, quantum computers can be invented. It can certainly run in parallel and can dismantle any kind of encryption within hours. That is the power of supercomputer, because we know exactly that in digital computers we were using transistors, to compute, because transistors were used, and 0 and 1 binary code were used to compute all together. But here in quantum computers we use atoms, its spin and its position. And that is why for computing atoms, atoms are very sophisticated, and if any decoherence happens, it won't calculate easily for ensuring coherence, because if any outer obstruction happens or any kind of disturbance can create problem to quantum computing, because we uses real atoms, for computing and solving problems. So coherence is important nowadays. Scientists are using almost near absolute zero temperature. They are trying to maintain so that coherence can be maintained and no decoherence can happen. That's why their computation will be right, because it dynamically computes such a vast amount of data, that it solves almost every problem, every riddle. That kind of power it has. So he has given his insights how quantum computers can be used to not only break the digital codes but also create some encryptions, also create such kind of useful medicines that can be decoded by quantum computers and can be given to us. Not only medicines, but photosynthesis, synthetic photosynthesis, that can be computed by quantum computers. Because what happens in photosynthesis, we know that he has also told that nature, mother earth, does it at room temperature. She does not have to maintain absolute zero, because photosynthesis happens, and it is a quantum mechanical process, which is happening with the help of sunlight. Exactly that plants are daily doing quantum synthesis in terms of photosynthesis. And this photosynthesis, what happens, using sunlight and carbon dioxide, they produce oxygen and glucose. So such kind of thing, if we can use quantum computers to create synthetic photosynthesis, we can escalate, and can proliferate our productivity, so that we can feed all the humans on this planet, because we know we have challenges if population will grow. So much of the people will starve in future if we will not bring better revolution, to our foods and to our growths and cereal growths and all these things. He has also told that nitrogen, some bacteria uses nitrogen out of air to create ammonia, and that is what is used in fertilizers. So to solve that big problem, we can use quantum computers as well. So such a powerful machines we have gotten. And if AI, artificial intelligence, which is able to solve big data problem, and if it will meet the hardware of the quantum computer, it can create miracles, and bigger problems will be solved. such a power of quantum computing. He has even talked about immortality, not only digital immortality, but rather biological mortality. Everything can be possible with the help of quantum computing. So coming centuries are really promising. If you really want to change your life, you should certainly read this book. He has talked about how cancers, medicines of cancers and problems of cancer can be solved with the help of quantum computing. What kind of promising book do you want rather than it? So if you really want to acknowledge and augment your knowledge, you should certainly read this book. I'm not promoting this book, rather I'm telling you out of curiosity that I've gotten after reading this book. It is much more impacting. If you really want to change your world, you should certainly take an instance. It looks quite spiritual, because changes that happens in scientific arena, that happens very gradually, but sometimes such inventions, certain invention happens that can change the fate of humanity altogether, that can proliferate, that can expedite each and every solutions in a very quick time, that can change the fate of humanity altogether. And if we will find digital immortality and biological immortality, the world will be a different place altogether. Different norms for each and every one, different reality. So what else do you want? If you really want to quench your quest and your curiosity, your inquisitive attitude should not be quenched easily. But if you read this book, most of the curiosity will certainly grow, and you know exactly that having extraordinary capability is really important. If you really want to satiate your inquisitive attitude, I will recommend you to read this book, and it will mesmerize you. So having scientific knowledge, having knowledge about good processes and inventions that are happening and what will be its promising result, we should know exactly about that. And if we will be reading, if we will be augmenting our knowledge, and if we will be disseminating it further, many people, many a prodigy, they will take interest in that, and they might invent another thing in next future. And that is what is the motive of this communication, because whatever we impart, whatever we talk, it has an impact in people. So people will certainly be curious, they will certainly be able to assimilate more and hone their skills. Thank you for listening to me.